Okay, so get this.
Okay. Yeah.
You ready to explore a world that's both mysterious and a little bit spooky? We're going deep
Oh, yeah.
into the evocation of spirits,
Ooh.
that ancient art of like communicating with entities from beyond the veil.
Right.
And we're going to be drawing on wisdom from Donald Michael Kraig's The Truth About the Evocation of Spirits for this one.
Well, what's always struck me is how deeply ingrained this desire to connect with the non-physical is in us humans.
Yeah.
It's like a universal thread woven through every culture, you know? From ancestor worship to complex systems of gods and goddesses.
It really is. It's like this
Yeah.
primal urge to reach beyond what we can see and touch.
Totally.
But before we jump into summoning a spirit,
Right.
let's tackle something I bet you've wondered about.
Okay.
If these entities came from human interpretation,
Yeah.
are they even real?
That's a great question.
It's a big one.
It is, and Craig provides a pretty compelling two-part answer.
Okay.
First, he points out that just because humanity wasn't aware of something doesn't make it any less real.
Okay.
Think about the Americas before European exploration.
Okay.
They existed whether or not Europeans knew about them. Right.
So absence of evidence.
Exactly.
Isn't evidence of absence? I like that.
Yeah.
But what about the argument that these entities are just figments of our collective imagination?
Well, Craig's second point delves into that.
Okay.
The world of archetypes.
Okay.
Those universal patterns of thought embedded in our collective unconscious.
Mm-hmm.
And he suggests that even if they started as archetypes,
Right.
these entities have now evolved into independent beings.
Okay. Now that's where it gets really interesting.
Right.
But let's step back for a second.
Sure.
Why magic?
Mm.
We all want to improve our lives,
Mm-hmm.
but why choose this path
Yeah.
over, say, therapy or meditation?
Yeah, well, Craig argues that magical rituals can actually alter our body chemistry.
Really?
Think about how your mouth waters
Yeah.
when you imagine a delicious meal, or how thinking about certain activities can release endorphins.
Mm-hmm.
Magic, he says, attunes us to the psychic world in a similar way,
Interesting.
almost like pushing human evolution forward.
So it's not just about external changes, but internal transformation, too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
He even calls the practice of magic a sacred obligation.
He does, yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
It's a powerful statement.
Yeah.
And it speaks to the idea that engaging with the non-physical is not just a personal pursuit, but a responsibility.
Right.
And this leads us to a critical distinction that's often blurred, the difference between evocation and invocation.
Right. People use those terms interchangeably, but they're actually quite different, aren't they?
They are, absolutely.
Yeah.
Invocation is like inviting an entity to inhabit your body.
Okay.
Think channeling or mediumship.
Right.
Evocation, on the other hand,
Yeah.
is more like establishing a line of communication, almost like a cosmic video phone call.
Okay. That analogy makes so much sense.
Yeah.
So you're not possessed. It's more like having a conversation
Right.
across dimensions.
Yeah.
But let's be honest.
Okay.
The whole poof and smoke Hollywood image of evocation isn't exactly accurate, is it?
Well, and Dion Fortune,
Right.
a well-known occultist,
Yeah.
argued that evocation usually occurs on the astral plane,
Okay.
only visible to those with clairvoyant abilities.
So it's not about spirits suddenly materializing in your living room.
Yeah.
It's a more subtle,
Yeah.
energetic exchange.
Right.
But that makes me curious.
Okay.
What about those grimoires that claim to summon entities onto the physical plane?
Yeah.
Is that even possible?
That's one of those common misconceptions Craig tackles in his book.
Okay.
He points out that these texts refer to evocation to physical appearance,
Okay.
which actually happens on the astral plane, not the material one.
So it's all about interpretation.
Exactly.
But wouldn't that mean it takes someone with clairvoyant ability to even confirm
Yeah.
if the spirit is present?
Exactly.
Tell you-
And that's why you often see two people involved in evocations.
Okay.
The magician,
Right.
who performs the ritual,
Mhm.
and the seer,
Yeah.
who can perceive the entity on the astral plane.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Now, I've always been intrigued by that classic image of a circle within a triangle
Uh-huh.
used in evocations, especially in the Goetia.
Yeah.
What does that symbolize?
It's believed to represent a magic mirror,
Okay.
a symbolic doorway to the astral plane.
Fascinating.
Hmm.
And what about those pinnacles and seals?
Yeah.
Are they just for show?
Not at all.
Okay.
They actually play a crucial role in helping the seer achieve that altered state of consciousness
Right.
needed to see onto the astral plane.
Huh?
They act as focal points,
Right.
tuning the seer's perception to the specific entity they're trying to evoke.
Okay, so it's like using a tuning fork
Right.
to match the frequency of the spirit.
Yeah.
But what about incense?
Yeah.
How could a spirit on the astral plane even smell that?
Another common misconception.
Oh, okay.
The incense actually affects the seer, not the spirit.
Oh, I see.
It works on several levels, altering the seer's body chemistry and consciousness,
Okay.
attuning them to specific entities through traditional scent associations,
Interesting.
and even having a powerful psychological impact.
It's like setting the mood
Yeah.
for the astral connection.
Totally.
But remember, folks, safety first.
Oh, yeah.
Always ventilate when burning incense.
For sure.
Carbon monoxide is no joke.
Right.
Now, I've always wondered why grimoires insist on calling the spirit repeatedly. If magic works, shouldn't one call be enough?
Well, it's not about the spirit needing a wake-up call.
Right.
The repeated calls actually help the seer gradually open their psychic vision to the right level of the astral plane
Okay.
and clearly perceive the entity.
So it's about fine-tuning the connection.
Right.
Not about getting the spirit's attention.
Right.
Got it.
Yeah.
One last thing that's always bothered me. The whole idea of commanding a spirit, doesn't that feel a bit forceful?
It's a valid concern,
Yeah.
but Kraig suggests that spirits, unlike humans,
Yeah.
don't have free will in the same way.
Okay.
They operate based on their inherent nature.
So it's less about coercion and more about understanding their nature
Right.
and working within those parameters.
Exactly.
Almost like a computer that can only execute commands within its programming.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we've busted some myths
We have.
and explored the core principles of evocation.
We did.
But now I'm curious about the practical side.
Okay.
What tools do you actually need for this practice?
Well, Kraig mentions a few key items.
Okay.
A magic mirror,
Mm-hmm.
a pentacle, candles, incense, paper and pen, and a grimoire.
Wow, that's quite the shopping list.
Yeah.
The magic mirror, in particular, is quite fascinating.
Yeah.
A magic mirror. Okay, now you've got my attention. What's so special about it?
Well, it's not what you might think.
Okay.
Imagine a circular piece of glass,
Right.
painted black on one side,
Okay.
and mounted onto a triangular board inscribed with specific names and symbols.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually placed outside the protected circle
Interesting.
to prevent unwanted entities from entering the magician's space.
Wait, so you're telling me I could potentially make my own magic mirror?
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
You can.
Okay, that's definitely going on my DIY list.
Yeah.
But before we jump into the actual evocation process,
Okay.
let's address the elephant in the room.
Okay.
Are there any dangers involved?
Sure.
You mentioned that evocation is generally safer than invocation,
It is, yeah.
but I'm sure our listeners have some concerns.
You're right to bring that up.
Yeah.
While evocation is generally safe if done correctly,
Okay.
there are a few potential pitfalls to be aware of.
Okay.
For example, there's the risk of attracting what Kraig calls little nasties, or astral garbage.
Astral garbage.
Yeah.
Okay.
These minor entities are drawn to the psychic energy generated during rituals.
Right.
And while they can't really harm you,
Okay.
they might try to mislead you by pretending to be the entity you're trying to evoke.
So it's like accidentally calling the wrong number
Yes.
on the astral plane.
Totally.
And I guess that's where proper procedure and discernment come in.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But what about other dangers?
Sure.
I'm sure there's more to it than just unwanted astral guests.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
There are other potential pitfalls we need to address.
Okay.
But before we delve into those,
Right.
let's walk through the step-by-step process of performing an evocation.
Okay.
Ready to get into the magical trenches.
Let's do this.
All right. All right. So picture this. You found a quiet space,
Okay.
free from distractions,
Right.
and you're ready to dive into this evocation journey.
The energy is palpable.
Mm,
So what's the first step? Do we just start chanting and hope for the best?
not quite.
Okay.
First, the magician positions themselves in the center of the room, traditionally facing east,
Okay.
while the seer sits between them and the magic mirror,
Okay.
which, remember, is placed outside the protected circle.
Got it. So there's a specific setup involved.
Yes.
But I'm curious, how much does the magician's mindset matter in all of this?
It's crucial.
Okay.
You need to approach this ritual with reverence and a genuine belief in its efficacy.
Right.
Think of it like any other skill. If you don't believe you can do it,
Yeah.
you're probably right.
So no room for skepticism or doubt.
Right.
But before we even begin the evocation,
Yeah.
you mentioned something about a banishing ritual.
Right.
What's that all about?
The banishing ritual is all about purification and protection.
So,
it's like creating a sacred, safe space
right.
by clearing out any unwanted energies that might interfere with the process.
Okay, so we're setting up some magical boundaries.
Yeah.
But how does that actually work? What does it involve?
Well, there are various methods ranging from simple visualization techniques to more elaborate rituals.
Okay.
Kraig describes one called the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram. Imagine tracing fiery pentagrams in the air.
Okay.
Feeling divine white light coursing through you.
Right.
And vibrating powerful Hebrew names of God.
Wow, that seems incredibly intense. Is it as complicated as it sounds?
It might seem daunting at first,
Okay.
but with practice, it becomes a powerful way to center yourself, purify your surroundings, and invoke divine protection.
So it's like a spiritual cleanse and a power-up all in one.
Exactly.
I like it. But once we've banished those unwanted energies, how do we prepare the seer for the astral journey?
While performing the banishing ritual, the seer focuses on the pentacle or seal of the spirit they're about to evoke.
Okay.
This helps them begin to attune to the entity's energy.
Right.
Next, they inhale incense. Remember, certain scents are traditionally associated with specific entities and stare deeply into the magic mirror.
Ah, so that's where the magic mirror comes in.
Yes.
But it's not like a literal mirror where you can see the spirit, right?
Exactly. The magic mirror is a tool to focus the seer's astral vision,
Okay.
helping them shift their perception
Right.
and tune into the subtle frequencies of the astral realm.
Okay.
The magician guides them to look not at the surface of the mirror,
Right.
but into its depths,
Okay.
helping them reach that altered state of consciousness.
Okay. It's starting to feel like we're on the verge of a real breakthrough here.
Yeah.
What happens next?
Once the seer is ready, the magician performs the conjuration.
Okay.
This is a formal invocation calling upon the spirit,
Right.
helping the seer attune to its presence.
So this is where we actually make contact.
Precisely, Kraig provides a specific conjuration text,
Okay.
which involves vibrating divine names and the spirit's name, requesting it to appear in a fair and human-like form.
Vibrating the names.
Yes.
Can you explain what that means exactly?
It's a technique used in many magical traditions.
Okay.
It involves drawing out the sounds of the names, almost like singing them,
Okay.
with the intention of imbuing them with power and sending them out into the universe.
That's fascinating. It's like using sound as a magical tool.
It is, yeah.
What if, even after all of that,
Yeah,
the seer doesn't see anything?
that's a possibility. It could be that a connection isn't possible at that time for any number of reasons.
Okay.
In that case, the magician would give the spirit a license to depart
Right.
and end the ritual.
So it's important to know when to call it quits.
It is, yeah.
But let's say the seer does see something.
Okay.
What happens then?
Then comes the questioning.
Okay.
This is a crucial step to confirm the identity of the spirit and ensure we're not dealing with some misleading entity or astral trickster.
Right. We don't want to be fooled by some astral prankster.
Exactly.
So how does this questioning work?
The magician asks a series of specific questions, typically starting with, "What do you see?" and "What is thy name?"
Right.
The seer relays the spirit's responses, and the magician carefully analyzes them, comparing them to descriptions in the grimoire.
So it's like a magical cross-examination.
It is.
But what if the spirit gives a wrong answer?
Yeah.
Or appears in a frightening form?
Those are definite red flags.
Yeah.
In those cases, the magician might command the spirit to appear in a more pleasant form.
Right.
Or, if necessary, immediately give it a license to depart and banish the area.
It sounds like there's a lot of potential for things to go wrong.
It's true. There are risks involved.
Yeah.
Just like with any powerful practice.
Right.
But remember, this is why careful preparation, a clear intention, and a healthy dose of discernment are so important.
Right. So we're not just messing around here. This is serious magical business.
Right.
But let's assume the spirit passes the questioning and its identity is confirmed.
Okay.
What's next?
Then we move on to the welcome.
Okay.
This is where we formally acknowledge the spirit's presence,
Right.
thank it for appearing, and set the terms of the interaction.
So it's like establishing a magical contract.
Exactly. It emphasizes the reciprocal nature of this exchange.
No.
It's not about forcing a spirit to do our bidding,
Right.
but establishing a respectful dialogue.
Okay. I'm starting to understand the delicate balance involved here.
Yeah.
But once the spirit is welcomed, can we just ask it anything we want?
Well, remember, a spirit's knowledge and abilities are limited to its nature.
Okay.
They can't perform miracles or answer questions beyond their purview.
Right.
It's also important to remember that the spirit is observing you just as you are observing it, assessing your intentions and approach.
So it's a two-way street of assessment.
It is.
Clear communication and careful interpretation are key on both sides.
Right.
But what happens when the questioning is complete?
Yeah.
And we've gotten the information or assistance we sought?
Yeah.
Is that it?
Not quite. We can't forget about the payment.
Ah, right. You mentioned that earlier.
Yes.
But what kind of payment are we talking about here? Do we offer them astral cryptocurrency?
Nothing quite so modern.
Okay.
The payment is symbolic.
Yeah.
A way of acknowledging the spirit service.
Right.
And expressing gratitude. It could be a song, a dance, a blessing, or even simply visualizing loving energy flowing toward the spirit.
I love that it emphasizes the collaborative, respectful nature of this practice.
Exactly.
But once the payment is made, how do we wrap things up?
Then we respectfully release the spirit with a license to depart.
So we're essentially closing the magical contract.
We are.
But how do we ensure the spirit actually leaves?
Well, Kraig provides a specific text for this.
Okay.
Thanking the spirit for its cooperation.
Right.
Licensing it to return to its abode. And emphasizing the peaceful nature of the parting.
Okay.
And to seal the deal.
Right.
The magician performs another banishing ritual.
Okay.
Reinforcing that protective barrier.
Right.
And ensuring that the seer is fully back in their normal state of consciousness.
Sounds like we're coming full circle. From banishing to evocation and back to banishing again.
Exactly. It creates a sense of balance and closure to the entire ritual.
Right.
And afterward, it's often recommended to burn more incense.
Okay.
Open the windows to clear the air.
Right.
And even have a snack to ground yourself back in physical reality.
Okay. I can definitely get behind that post-ritual snack idea.
Yeah.
Now, before we move on,
you
mentioned something earlier about a magical diary.
I did, yeah.
What's the purpose of that?
A magical diary is essential for documenting every detail of your magical workings.
Okay.
It's like a lab notebook for your spiritual experiments.
You
record the date, time, weather, your emotional state, the spirit evoked, its responses, the success of the ritual, any insights you gained, and so on.
Wow, that's a lot of information to keep track of.
It is.
What are the benefits of keeping such detailed records?
Well, first, it allows you to track your progress over time.
Okay.
You can see which approaches work best. Identify patterns in your success and learn how different factors might influence your workings.
Right.
It's a valuable tool for self-reflection and improvement.
So it's like having a magical progress report.
Exactly.
I see the value in that.
Yeah.
Is there anything else?
Well, a magical diary also serves as a reference for future rituals.
Okay.
You can look back and see which techniques worked for specific spirits or goals.
Okay.
It's like building your own personalized magical database.
I like it.
And finally, it helps you uncover your own unique magical fingerprint.
Okay.
You might notice that you're more successful at certain times of day or during certain astrological periods, or that specific entities resonate more strongly with you.
That's incredible. It's like becoming your own magical scientist, constantly observing, experimenting, and refining your craft.
It is, yeah.
But we've been talking in generality so far.
We have.
I'm dying to hear about some actual spirits one might evoke.
Sure.
And the kind of powers they possess. Are you ready to meet some of these fascinating entities?
Absolutely. Kraig dedicates a section of his book to profiling specific spirits and their abilities. Are you ready to meet some of these fascinating entities?
You bet. Bring on the astral all-stars.
Okay.
Okay, hit me with some of these astral heavy hitters. Who should we meet first?
Let's start with Baal.
Okay.
Picture a being that can shift between the forms of a cat, a toad, and a man.
Whoa.
Sometimes all at once.
Okay.
He speaks with a hoarse voice and is said to have the power to make you invisible.
Invisible. Now that's a power I could get behind. Are we talking Harry Potter invisibility, cloak invisible?
Not quite.
Okay.
The kind of invisibility Baal grants is more about being unnoticed,
right,
blending into the background, rather than becoming literally transparent.
So it's less about disappearing completely and more about avoiding unwanted attention.
Right.
I can see how that would be useful in certain situations.
Yeah, for sure.
Kraig also mentions that the seer must wear Baal's seal.
Right.
Typically depicted as a pentacle during the evocation. Is that like a magical key to access his power?
It's more likely a way of establishing a connection and demonstrating respect.
Okay.
Think of it like presenting your credentials before entering a VIP area.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Okay, who's next on our astral guest list?
Let's move on to Amen.
Yeah.
He's described as a powerful and stern entity who initially appears as a wolf with a serpent's tail and fiery breath.
Wow, that's a pretty intense image. I wouldn't want to run into him in a dark astral alley.
But don't worry, at the magician's command,
Okay.
he can transform into a man with a raven's head, sometimes even sporting fangs.
Okay, that's somehow even creepier. But what about his powers? What can Amen actually do?
Amen is said to possess knowledge of both the past and the future.
So he's like a time-traveling oracle. Could he give me next week's winning lottery numbers?
Maybe, but remember, we still have free will.
Okay.
The future isn't fixed.
Right.
Amen's insights might reveal potential outcomes.
Okay.
But ultimately, our choices shape our destiny.
Right. It's not about getting a cheat sheet for life, but gaining valuable information.
Exactly.
To help us make informed decisions.
Yeah.
But besides time-bending abilities, what else can Amen do?
He's also said to be able to reconcile differences between people.
Okay.
And intriguingly, even cause feuds.
We cause feuds. That seems a bit counterproductive.
It might seem that way.
Yeah.
But sometimes bringing hidden conflicts to the surface can be more beneficial in the long run than letting resentment fester.
Okay.
Think of it like a controlled burn to prevent a bigger wildfire.
Okay, I see your point. But I imagine that's a power that requires a lot of wisdom and careful consideration.
Absolutely. Any power, whether magical or mundane, should be used responsibly and ethically.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Okay, who's our final astral VIP for today?
Let's meet Björ.
Okay.
Unlike our previous guests, he's described as a gentle and helpful entity.
Right.
Appearing in the form of a centaur.
A centaur. Half man, half horse. Now that's a unique look. I wonder if he's into archery.
Perhaps, but what's truly remarkable about Björ is his vast knowledge.
Okay.
He's a wise teacher, offering insights into a wide range of subjects.
Oh, wow.
Including mathematics, logic, ethics, physics, and even philosophy.
Wow, he's like a one-stop shop for intellectual enlightenment. Sign me up for that astral university.
And there's more.
Yeah.
Björ is also an expert on herbs, revealing both their magical and medicinal properties.
So he's a scholar and a healer.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I can see why someone might be drawn to evoking these spirits. It's like having access to a cosmic help desk.
Right.
For all sorts of life challenges.
Exactly. And remember, these are just 3 examples from a vast and diverse astral realm.
Yeah.
There are countless other entities waiting to be discovered, each with their own unique powers and personalities.
It's mind-blowing to think about the sheer scope of what's out there.
Yeah.
But before we get too carried away with all this astral awesomeness, I want to touch on something Kraig emphasizes in his book.
Okay.
The role of authority in occultism. He basically says, don't just take my word for it or anyone else's.
Yeah.
Go out there and experience it for yourself. What are your thoughts on that?
He's spot on. Magic is an experiential practice.
It is.
You can read all the books and listen to all the podcasts.
Right.
But true understanding comes from firsthand experience.
I agree.
It's like learning to ride a bike. You can study the mechanics all you want, but you won't truly get it until you hop on that bike and start pedaling.
I love that analogy. So it's not about blindly following dogma.
Exactly.
But forging your own path through direct experience.
Yeah.
Exactly. And just like learning to ride a bike.
Right.
There will be stumbles and falls along the way.
There will.
But with persistence and a willingness to learn from your mistakes, you'll eventually find your magical balance. Well said. I think it's safe to say this deep dive has opened my eyes to a whole new world of possibilities.
Yeah, me too.
It has for me too. And remember, this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Right.
There's an entire universe of magical knowledge and experience waiting to be explored.
Absolutely.
So to our listener, if you're feeling that spark of curiosity, don't just sit there, go out there and do some magic.
Yeah.
Explore, experiment, and discover your own unique path.
Exactly.
And remember, it's not about controlling spirits, but understanding their nature and harnessing their powers for positive change. Who knows what wonders you might uncover.
I agree.
Now, before we wrap up,
okay,
here's a final thought-provoking question for you to ponder.
All right.
If you could evoke one spirit from Kraig's book, who would it be and why? What would you hope to learn or accomplish?
That's a great question to reflect on.
Yeah.
We encourage you to dive deeper into the world of evocation and discover the incredible potential that lies within.
Absolutely. And as always, thanks for joining us on the deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep the magic alive.
Yeah, thanks for listening.